land safely as best you can. Another pit that I had the opportunity to land on was something called Cloud 9, and the Cloud 9 is actually it's a balloon, or like what you call these little bouncy gyms that you see today that kids jump on, and it's an air-filled tent, if you will, and when you land on it, it bounced, and the thing would move around, and it'd hit the standards, and then the bar would fall off, and so, or you'd hit the edge of it, and you'd slide off into the ground. So the Cloud 9 is something I got a chance to jump on. That put Hammond in me, and that had one of the decathlons that I got to do. So, like I say, landing's important, and then also what was unique back in that day was the standards were usually just two metal uprights, and we had these iron, I think were the first triangle bars. They're triangle shaped, and so you knock the bar off. Typically in the high jump, you're jumping, you knock it off your back, and you would either hopefully miss the bar as you landed too onto that matte surface that was just putting stuff in your hair. But a lot of times you landed on the bar, and that metal bar just put a nice weld across it, or you put a little indent in the bar, and you put the bar back up there, and you try to jump over that low spot. And then after a couple of years, that became more aluminum, I think, the bars did, so they didn't hurt as bad. Then we got, actually my senior, I think we started getting fiberglass crossbars. And they were round, and they were very consistent, and a lot easier to put up, and a lot easier to measure, and more fair for all jumpers then. And they didn't hurt as bad either when you did those things. But yeah, in high school, you know, when you're a three-sport athlete, in a small school, you get to do everything. You get to do basketball, you get to do track, football, so you never really concentrated on one sport, and so the season was fairly short. It really was. So as soon as basketball was over with, we had the very next weekend. Bloomington was the indoor first meet of the year. So you grab your pole out on a Wednesday, and you go down there and you go jump. You know, and that was your first practice and your first meet. And then you jump in the weather that we have here in Indiana in the spring. So a lot of times it's cold or rainy, and you don't get a chance to jump. Sometimes you tough it out, and you know, 11 foot may win the meet because it's a bad rainy day, or you might have a nice sunny day with some good winds. And, you know, you might. So North Putnam High School and cinder track. I remember very well. You run some cinders and have the long spikes that you know, the shoes that can run. But the high jump and the pole vaults were off the parking lots, so you didn't want the long spikes. So a lot of times you jumped in tennis shoes or your basketball shoes, and then you're landing in what we call the fishnets. And what that was, you know, it's better than the old sawdust days, but it was before that time. But we had just foam strips that were thrown together in the vinyl bag with a fishnet covering on top, and it's usually about 2 feet high, and that mat was placed on top of tires, just rubber tires, so it would kind of cushion the blow every time you landed. A lot of times, though, there wasn't a cover for that mat, so when it rained, the foam would kind of disintegrate. So every time you land, there'd be a big poof of particles up in the air, and it'd land in your face, and you're brushing that off your face. So that was kind of the bad part of landing whenever you high jumped or pole vaulted back in the earlier days. You know, mid-70s, I'd say. But then after that, the mats tend to get a little better, and then you see what they have today are the OUS pits, which are at least 3 feet tall, covered all around in all weather. Nice things to.
You have a soft voice. Is everybody hearing you? No?
Can you hear me?
Speak up.
Back a ways. I graduated from Bell Union in 1963, and I ran track in junior high and high school. And I don't remember very many schools even having a track. Fillmore had a track. Greencastle had one, but they weren't regulation size and they weren't regulation shape. Fillmore's track was around the backstop. Home plate was here, and you ran around, and a square corner, and you went here, and it was a big oval like this, a little short straight over here, and it was like 5 laps to the mile, and they had enough room for a straightaway. So I remember running it at Fillmore when I was in high school, and Clayton, I think, had a track, and Monrovia they just skinned off the grass. It was like a dirt track, and some of them were just a path. We didn't have one at Bell Union. how many county schools had tracks, but the county track meet at that time was held at DePaul also. And one of my first memories of county track meet is a freshman and watching Jeff Blue. Everybody talks about Jeff Blue being a basketball star, which he was, but he drew a crowd at the Putnam County track meet. He was 6'6" and the biggest guy in Putnam County that I know of then, and really a physical specimen. And he ran the 100, threw the shot, and long jump. And every event he was in, there was a crowd with him. And it was fun to watch. But so that's going back as far as I can remember in track. And it wasn't a big sport. There were 7 county schools, and at Bell Union we had 4 sports, 3 for a long time, and then Bob Collins came there when I was in 8th grade and started cross country. But you had a basketball coach, and then he coached whatever else happened to be. So there wasn't a lot of interest in track at that time. And I remember Clyde Spencer telling me when we were talking about this, he had the pole vault record, I think, in Greencastle for quite some time. His son has it now, and there were a few in between. But he said when he was in school, they would come to study hall and say, well, we got a track meet over so-and-so, anybody want to go? And now I don't know if that's true or not, but it wouldn't surprise me. But track was not a big sport at that time.
It's about Putnam County High School track and field. And I can say there was an era in Putnam County High School track and field where it far surpassed what we see today. Chet Clodfelter was part of that era. That was from about 1978 through about 1982, 81, okay. Charlie Dobson is a Putnam County native. He's going to sit here, he's probably sitting there thinking he can remember a time when it was even better than that era. Charlie,
Anyway.
pardon?
Different anyway.
Different. And Charlie graduated from Bell Union in 1963. He was. But